A shifting storm track to bring heavy snow, ice, severe weather, and potential blizzard-like conditions next week across portions of the east. Welcome in, everybody. My name's Gerald. I'm a meteorology major at the University of North Carolina, Charlotte. And if you haven't already, go ahead, like the video, subscribe, and hit the bell for the latest notifications because we've got an active pattern ahead. It's been a crazy start to 2025 and not letting up at all. We've got a major winter storm right now. We've got another major winter storm by tomorrow. And then guess what? We're going to do it all again this weekend, and going into next week, a potentially even stronger storm system could even up these impacts more. Now, we're going to talk about it all in today's video. We're going to break it down for you. I'm going to give you the latest model guidance, the data we have, and kind of comb over it all. So we're all up to date on what is on the way. Also, comment, let me know where you're watching from, and especially give me those reports. How much snow are you seeing? How much rain are you seeing? Or are you all in the clear for now, at least, before whatever next storm may be on its way to your doorstep? Alrighty, folks, let's go ahead and dive on into things and start breaking down that data. Now, right in front of me, here's current radar imagery at about 8:30 or so this morning. So if you're watching later on today, that's fine, all right, too. This information still applies to you, but you can see this big storm really beginning to crank up. We've got a lot of rain to the south through Nashville, Little Rock, Dallas, moving into the Carolinas, but heavy snow from Louisville to Charleston, West Virginia, Roanoke, Blacksburg already picking up on multiple inches of snow on this Tuesday, and all of this mess going to continue to push east throughout the day today. Now, like I kind of mentioned here early on, this is not the only thing we're watching. Look at our map for our current alerts right now. What an absolute mess out there. And you can pick out both storms very clearly. Here's storm number 1 in the mid-Atlantic. That's what's bringing that ongoing snow I just showed you. But you look back west towards the Central Plains, another major winter storm on the way for tomorrow. That one going to bring potentially double-digit snowfall, ice concerns, and just a travel nightmare across much of the country as it crosses on from the west to the east, and then a little bit of a lull. But then by the time we get to this weekend, folks, it goes downhill again with another major storm system. So you can see what's happening. Obviously, a very active scene. In fact, that next storm system this weekend already technically showing up out here into California. See those winter storm watches in the Sierra Nevadas? Yeah, that's in anticipation for the Thursday into Friday storm. So really, we are just lining them up one after another, here on the winter storm train. So very active kind of pattern here again. Cannot really overstate that. Now, with that said, let's go ahead and time out the rest of our ongoing storm system and kind of give you the latest details. So you can see here in the east, we've got that snow in Northern Virginia, Charlottesville, DC, over through the Delmarva. Heavy snow throughout the day today. Heavy rain from Nashville southbound towards the Gulf Coast. Kind of a showery day through Charlotte, Raleigh, even into really just much of the Carolinas and Georgia as a whole. Now, we keep it ahead. That shield of snow slowly working further northbound here by this evening. Philadelphia, Cape May, really the Jersey Shore and the entire state of New Jersey getting in on some snow. New York City, I think, going to see the flakes fly this evening and into the overnight. And that snow continuing into DC and Baltimore. Another thing to note here, you see this pink and this purple? Yeah, that's an ice storm ongoing into the mountains of Virginia. Obviously starting as snow now, but by this evening, that ice and kind of wintry mix line pushing northward towards the DMV area. But luckily, I think it'll stop right around Charlottesville. So if you're right around that Charlottesville area northbound up towards DC, going to be an all snow event, and it will continue into the overnight. Some snow even clipping the coastlines of Connecticut, Rhode Island, out into the Cape, Nantucket getting some snow, and then we kind of see another little wave of some ice and wintry precipitation overnight tonight through the mid-Atlantic and into tomorrow morning. And then obviously the big story here at this point will be the next storm working on into the plains, and then all of that rain in the deep south, including a bit of a severe weather threat. All right, so let's go ahead and break down kind of how much snow is to come with this storm, and then we'll go ahead and talk about the next storm on the way. All right, this is as of 6 a.m. Central Time this morning, so whatever snow you've gotten from about 6 this morning, subtract it from these totals, and that'll be about how much snow is left to come. But still a little bit of snow going on in Louisville, Lexington, Elizabethtown, Pikeville, points north up towards Huntington. A good probably 2 to 4 inches or so left depending on when you're watching the video. Cincinnati going to get a little bit of snow. Athens, Ohio here also getting in on a little bit of the fun. Now, let's move it east here. Big ice concerns throughout the day today from Danville over to Roanoke, back down into Boone. We could even see a glaze in the Greensboro and the Hickory area. But really, I think it's that Danville, Southwest Virginia area. It's going to need to really watch for the potential of 1/10 of an inch to 1/4 of an inch of ice. And that'll make travel near impossible. Some of these areas already getting snow, then that layer of ice on top of it. That'll create power outage concerns just across the board, a real mess in this region throughout the day today. And you can see that here on the ice forecast from the National Weather Service. And same thing applies here as our snow totals. This is from 7 a.m. Eastern time, so subtract anything you've gotten from that point in terms of ice. But the ice concerns really moving in this afternoon. So I think most of this will apply for many folks watching this video. And then we look at the snowfall to come. Yeah, this is going to be a good storm through central Virginia. I think somebody could hit double-digit snowfall, not out of the question. Again, Charlottesville over towards the mountains of West Virginia into the Delmarva through Delaware, Cape May. Areas right in that corridor are going to see 6 to 8+ inches. A couple folks going to get that 8 to 12 range. So a good little storm. You move north towards Philadelphia, a good 3 inches or so. I think same thing for Hoboken, Trenton. You get up to New York City, probably closer to 1 to 2 inch type event. And then a lot of the snow you're seeing up north is actually for our next storm system. So it's really everything kind of south of this line is the current storm. Then everything north of it, that's the next storm. So you can kind of see snowfall to come. Definitely a good little winter storm here for portions of the mid-Atlantic. And that sets up shop for the Wednesday storm. So like I said, no rest for the weary here. Here's the setup. This is this afternoon, our vorticity map, our kind of storm energy map, if you will. And you can kind of see the ongoing storm. You see this ribbon of enhanced vorticity. Now, this is a lot of lift that we're getting out ahead of a big time trough back out west, just creating this big zone of enhanced diffluence above our heads or ascent at the surface. All a bunch of fancy terms to tell you. The air wants to rise, and that's beginning to create this area of precipitation. Now, all that's going to continue to work east like we saw, but by the time we get to this evening and look at tomorrow morning, folks, this is a potent trough digging down deep into the west, and with it, another area of enhanced vorticity out in front of it. Again, that's that lift in the atmosphere the model's picking up on, and we're going to see heavy precipitation rates out of this event. That's why we could see 6, 7, 8, maybe even 9 or 10+ inches of snow for portions of Kansas, Missouri, Iowa, up through the Chicago metro, and then icing concerns as well out of it. So we'll time out the rest of it here. Again, this is Wednesday morning pictured. You can see all of that energy continuing to work north and east, that ribbon of enhanced lift. And I'll add, even if you're not getting the snow, you may be getting some rain down into Tennessee, Alabama, a severe weather threat tomorrow afternoon. So all this lift, it's going to cause more than problems with the snow. It's going to cause enhanced ice, enhanced severe weather. We're going to really just see a trifecta, if you will, of kind of active ingredients here for tomorrow afternoon. I think this is a really kind of key precursor to the weekend, which could be an even more impactful severe weather event, including snow and ice. So stay tuned for later in the video. But we'll move this ahead. This gets us into Thursday, working through the Northeast by Thursday, and then kind of clearing on out of here by the Friday timeframe as we get on the converging side of this trough, meaning the air now sinking above us and creating high pressure at the surface. But you notice what's next. Yeah, another big storm out west. Whoa, just boy, oh boy, it keeps on coming. All right, let's go ahead and time this one out for you. Another big storm. Let's give you the latest. So what you're seeing here, this is the latest NAM model we have. Kind of showing that mid-Atlantic threat for tonight, kind of working up through the Northeast. But at the same time, we've got heavy snow into eastern Colorado, spreading into Nebraska, Iowa, Kansas. We'll skip it ahead a little bit. This is tomorrow morning. I mean, what a shield of winter weather for Kansas City through Lincoln, Des Moines, even into the Twin Cities could see some snow out of this. We've got rain down into Arkansas, Louisiana. Again, watching a severe weather threat down here tomorrow. We'll talk about that at the very end of the video. But be aware that is a concern for our Wednesday afternoon and evening. But obviously, the other big concern is this massive shield of snow. Look at St. Louis getting in on a heavy wintering mix of snow, sleet, freezing rain, going to kind of go back and forth between those. We still got rounds of ice into the mountains of Virginia. Again, cannot catch a break out here from the freezing rain and sleet. We've got this big shield of snow working into Chicago. Chicago, an area hasn't seen a lot of snow. That'll change tomorrow afternoon as this works northward into Michigan, Wisconsin, and just a big shield of snow that's going to drop big totals. totals, all rain for Kentucky, Tennessee, Alabama, Mississippi through the Carolinas, outside of maybe the mountains. Or the Triad area could get a little bit of frozen precipitation, but mainly rain through those regions, including, like I said, a little bit of a severe weather threat. Check this out. A pretty good little surface low with a nice little area of lift out in front of it for Wednesday afternoon. That, again, going to bring a bit of a severe weather potential. We go to Wednesday night. This moves into the northeast, into Thursday morning. A messy event through the northeast, maybe starting as snow, then to ice, then to rain. I think the only place is really going to hold on to a true snow event in the northeast will probably be the highest terrains of the interior. Into the Green Mountains. The Adirondacks could be a snow kind of icy mix up into Maine, but coastal areas, I-95, it's going to be more of a rainstorm than anything, with even some gusty winds as this pulls away. This is later Thursday morning pictured next to me, and then the storm really clears on out by Thursday night. So a good storm, going to bring big impacts for a lot of folks. And let's go ahead and break down those impacts and talk about some of these snow and ice totals. So ice going to be a concern. Cannot overstate that. Look at this. Oklahoma City back down towards Amarillo. Going to potentially see 1/10 of an inch to 1/4 of an inch of ice. Now, this is the NAM model. Sometimes overdoes it a little bit, but if we take a look at another model, this is the high resolution rapid refresh. A little bit different location on the ice, but it's there. We'll take a look at another mesoscale model. All of them kind of in agreement. A ribbon of ice from really OKC, I think, up into the Ozarks of southern Missouri, maybe even extreme northern Arkansas. Those higher terrains could see a little bit of freezing rain, but again, 1/10 of an inch. That's enough to cause big travel concerns and some limited power outages. We'll need to watch for that as well. But I think the bigger story out here is going to be the snowfall. Check this out. Going for 6 to 12 inches of snow, half a foot to a foot in Kansas City, northern Missouri through much of the northern half of Kansas into southern Iowa. Yeah, big totals. You get down to towards the St. Louis area. I think going to be more of a wintry mix, kind of a mess of a storm. So it could get around an inch if you're lucky. The storm's just a little bit further south. You could be closer to 3 inches. If it's a little bit further north, going to be more of just an all ice event. So you can kind of see that kind of wintry mix setting up shop there. Not really a whole lot of snow down towards Oklahoma City. Again, this is going to be more of an ice event for you. The heaviest snow in this corridor of southern Nebraska, northern Kansas, northern Missouri, and then up through Iowa. And not to forget our friends in Colorado. Nice little winter storm for the foothills and plains of Colorado as well. Talking that 3 to 5 inch range of snowfall. Now, we'll keep on moving kind of east here. Ice, again, a concern further to the north and east. This is the blend of models showing that potential in St. Louis for that kind of shield of ice. Again, you get the idea. It's going to be a corridor from, we'll say, Detroit to south of Chicago, back towards St. Louis, and then kind of into Indianapolis, Bloomington, through northwestern Ohio. This is the corridor to watch for around 1/10 of an inch or so of ice. Certain areas could get a tad bit more. Certain areas could get a tad bit less. But I think generally 1/10 of an inch to 1/4 of an inch is going to be the most likely kind of solution here. And this is the blend of models, probably underdoing it a little bit. If we look at the NAM, you can see higher end ice totals. Look at the high resolution rapid refresh, really liking high ice totals into northeastern Ohio. And then back down towards Indianapolis. That would be a pretty significant icing event should that unfold. But either way, you get the point. A big shield here of icy conditions on the way for this storm system from tonight into tomorrow through this region. All right, snowfall up here, also going to be no joke. We're going to get pretty good totals into Chicago. Like I mentioned, Chicago hasn't had a good winter storm in a while. I think this changes that from kind of the Milwaukee area, again, down into Chicagoland, Gary, Indiana, areas in and around there. Could see around half a foot of snow, maybe a little bit more in some places, maybe a little bit less in others, but kind of an average through the region, right around half a foot. You even get up towards Detroit, especially north of Detroit, we could see heavy snowfall totals, 4 to 8 inches in that area. And you can just kind of see here a good little winter storm. Now, not a lot of luck for kind of central Ohio back to the Indianapolis area into southern Illinois. Those areas going to be more of an ice event again, but snow to the north. Either way, though, big high impact winter storm for this entire region from overnight tonight into tomorrow. And then eventually, even on Thursday, by the time we get into the northeast, look at these ice potentials. This from the NAM. You kind of notice how it's scattered in here. This tells me going to be a very elevation type of event. So some of those valleys that are a little bit colder could see some of this freezing rain. Some of those higher elevations that are a tad bit colder are going to see some of this ice and freezing precipitation. Just all around kind of a messy event for the Northeast in the ice department and the snow department. Check this out. Again, not a lot, but you get up towards the Adirondacks, the Green Mountains, even up into kind of the Canadian border through Maine. Going to be one of those very elevation-dependent events. So higher terrains could see 3-4 inches. Those more middle-range terrains, maybe 1 to 2 inches of snow, and then more probably of an icy kind of terrain mixed down into the valleys. So definitely not as big of a winter storm here as areas out west. But next week, you could get a bigger winter storm here into the interior Northeast. And speaking of it, let's go ahead and break it down for you with the latest model guidance. So here we go. This is the European ensembles, I think, doing a tremendous job at showing that potential next week for big time active weather in really all departments. Severe weather, winter weather, heavy rain. I really think we're going to do it all. So this is Thursday afternoon. These are our 500 millibar height anomalies. So if you don't know what this means, basically, it's just an area of kind of difference from average. So the red areas, the orange areas, those are warmer air masses. The blue areas, those are cooler air masses. And it's a little more complicated than that. But at the surface, that's basically what this means. So by the time we get to Thursday, here's kind of this clash of air masses. Again, we've got that blue and that orange kind of hitting each other. That's what's fueling this big storm. That's why we've got snow on the cold side here and why we've got rain and even a little bit of a severe weather threat on the warmer side. As we go through later this week, though, again, this is Thursday, watch what's happening out west. A big trough dipping into the western half of the country. That's going to bring very active weather to California, the Rockies, the PNW, and eventually, by, we'll say, Friday afternoon here, a big warm-up in the east. So we're going to get another kind of little fake spring event. Everyone's going to say, all right, well, the pattern's over. Not quite. Watch what happens with that trough out west. Kind of pushes that ridge out of the way. And boy, oh boy, what a signal by Sunday afternoon for a big storm system, a big trough dipping down all the way to the Gulf Coast. That's going to bring a strong storm here on our diverging side. That right-hand side is where we get that active weather, and then just kind of cold air on the left-hand side of that, the center of that trough. Now, you're thinking, all right, that's a big deal, and it is, but then check out what happens by next week. Another big trough dips down. That one, I think, could be even a bit of a cutoff low, maybe get further south, and potentially next week / this week in between both of these storms, I am watching the potential for blizzard conditions somewhere. We've got a lot of upper level lift. We've got upper level support here for one of these storm systems to really crank up, potentially riding up the coastline, not out of the question, especially the next week storm, this weekend storm, probably not so much, but either way, both of them going to strengthen pretty rapidly here and deep into a level that could support at least blizzard-like conditions by some point next week east of the Rockies. Now, let's go ahead and show you the energy map. We've got the upper level map here. Granted, this is also an upper level map, but it helps us kind of see that energy. Here we go, Thursday, big old piece of energy out west working through California. That bringing that very active weather for many folks, continuing to push eastbound. Here we go, Friday into Saturday. And check it out. This is Saturday evening. We've got just an absolute chomper of a trough here all the way down into Texas. Again, a tremendous amount of lift out ahead of it, whether that be producing snow, ice, or severe weather. Again, keep on hearing that word, severe weather. We're going to need to start paying attention to that by the weekend, really by as early as today and tomorrow, but especially this weekend, I think, with this very pronounced trough. That swings on through, folks, gets picked up by some Canadian energy, and this is when the storm could really strengthen. Folks in the Northeast, do not let your guard down by Sunday. This could, again, really start kicking up the winds as the storm kind of gets some upper level support. We'll keep on moving ahead here into time. That one gets out of here, and another big storm diving even further south. And once again, here we go, northern stream energy, southern stream energy, strong vortmax out of this one by about, we'll say 8 or 9 days or so from now, gets picked up. And again, could really kind of bomb out, as we say, with intense upper level support. So that's what we're watching over the next 10 days. What could this look like at the surface, though? Okay, well, let's look at it. Here we go. This is the Wednesday, Thursday storm. That's one we already talked about. But watch out west towards California. By Thursday morning here, an absolute just shield of snow into the Sierra Nevadas, heavy rain and wind along the coast. I mean, check this out, 990 millibar low running into the coast. That's going to cause problems out there. Getting into the Rockies, heavy snow. If you've got a ski trip, boy, oh boy, did you pick a good month to go. This February has been beautiful out west. Then by about Friday evening, this storm ejects out into the plains. We've got snow into the northern tier. We've got severe weather and rain down south. And you can see by Saturday afternoon, this storm really cranks up. We have that severe weather threat down into Arkansas, Louisiana. We've got kind of this warm front bringing rain through the Ohio Valley, snow through portions of the Northeast, snow and kind of ice maybe on the backside of this storm as that cold air catches up to our surface low. And watch it deepen. Again, this is Saturday afternoon, about 1,005 millibars. Keep on moving it ahead. Keep on moving it ahead. Sunday morning, we're down to 990. So you can see that deepening trend. That combined with this very big kind of potent shot of cold air on the backside. Yeah, we could see blowing snow potentially into Ohio, Indiana, Kentucky, back up into portions of the Northeast. We've got an intense squall line moving through the south. That could bring strong winds, severe weather. Saturday, Sunday. This keeps on moving ahead by Sunday afternoon into the Northeast. Continues to strengthen. We've got ice, snow, heavy rain, and we're down to 972 millibars by overnight Sunday as this is moving up into Canada. Strong mid-latitude cyclone. And that's not the end of it. Another storm by later next week. Here it is, diving south on the Euro. We've got snow deep in the south. Texas, Arkansas, Oklahoma. Just a big old mess in Louisiana. And watch this one crank up, folks. I mean, this could be a big one. Major ice storm, major snowstorm in the mid-Atlantic. Into the Tennessee Valley. I mean, this is... oh boy, talk about a big looking storm. In the long range, rides up the coast, becomes a nor'easter. Obviously, that's about 10 days from now, but you get the idea. We've got the upper level support for big trouble over the next 10 days, and I'm going to go and just warn you now, it's looking pretty likely. I'll quickly breeze through the GFS. Very similar idea. Big storm moves out west. Weekend storm looks about identical to the Euro, honestly. You can see it kind of moving on through here, so not going to go into too much detail. A little bit closer to the coast. A little bit closer to the coast on the GFS, so we'll see how that plays out between the two. Would bring more snow and ice into the Northeast, but either way, cranks up big time. And then we get next week's storm, same idea. Dives to the south, and we just get an absolute whopper of a storm to ride up the coast in about 10 days. So crazy times ahead for sure. I'll show you the ensembles. Obviously, operational runs are great to look at. But what about the ensembles? Obviously, this is 7 to 10 days away, and you know I love ensembles. So we'll go ahead and show them here. Here's Thursday, Friday, big snow out into the Rockies from that storm, then blossoming that snow into the northern tier, Wisconsin, Michigan, into the Northeast. Could see some pretty good snow this weekend. Depending on the exact track, even getting snow down into Ohio, Indiana, portions of Kentucky, West Virginia. And then next week's winter storm, look at how much further south it is. That track shifting south, that'll probably be the title of this video. And I'll go ahead and, I'll give you the title right now because I just came up with it. All right, shifting storm track to bring potential blizzard-like conditions next week. And this is the time frame that it could happen. Again, the first storm this weekend, that could bring big wind, rain, snow, ice, but it's really this one I'm watching. By next Wednesday, Thursday, snow pretty far south, and then potentially riding up the coast, and we could get the first classic nor'easter of the season. We've had these nor'easter-like events, but I mean one of those deep millibar lows getting down below 980, riding up the coast and bringing, 2 feet of snow, something like that for someone. Now, is that going to happen? Time to tell, but we've been watching for a while. I told you last week during live streams, we're watching the 20th to the 23rd time frame, and now the model's picking up on something in there. Definitely looks interesting and looks to be very impactful. All right, final thing, severe weather tomorrow. Actually, in fact, today, I think even. Yeah, today we've got 2 little areas for possible severe weather, Houston, and then back into Birmingham, Hattiesburg, Mobile. Not a huge deal today, watching it. Have a way to get watches and warnings. Tomorrow, bigger threat. We've got a slight risk down into Mississippi. And let's see, we even have a tornado threat. So tomorrow, Jackson, Meridian, Hattiesburg, Montgomery, Alabama, Baton Rouge down to New Orleans. You're going to have a small tornado threat tomorrow. Got to watch out for that. And then, folks, we get into day 3. Sure, it calms down a little bit, but watch what happens this weekend as we get into the Saturday time frame. Another big threat for severe weather in the deep south. And then we're kind of done potentially by Sunday, but we'll watch. That timing could impact the Carolinas Sunday morning with severe weather. Either way, active time period ahead. So, alrighty, let's all take a deep breath. That's all I got for you this morning. I will be live tonight, probably somewhere around 7 o'clock. I'll post the link this afternoon, get the exact time. But please join me. We're going to have a lot to talk about. We're going to have a lot to discuss. Will be a lot of fun, I think. And I'll be taking your questions. So with that said, again, y'all have a great one. Stay warm, stay safe, and I'll see you all next time.